Sandra.
Who am I?
21 minutes past 8 with Brian on Pacific Breakfast, Friday morning, the 11th of May. Tomorrow night in Auckland, the SODELPA Social Democratic Liberal Party of Fiji will be hosting the SODELPA New Zealand Island Night as part of their build-up to the Fijian general election later this year. A chief guest is a SODELPA party leader and former Fiji Prime Minister, Major General retired Sitiveni Rabuka, who joins me now to talk about tomorrow night and the upcoming elections. Nisa Yandra Vinaka, and a very warm welcome to the show this morning, Sitiveni.
And Mbolovinaka to your listeners.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Firstly, Sitiveni, can you tell me more about tomorrow night's events and tell us, what brings you to New Zealand?
I was invited by a group of friends for a men's retreat last week in Flexible Bay. We have these meetings or retreats around the world. We have them here in New Zealand. We are having one in July in Australia. And we meet in San Antonio and Washington, D.C. every year in February. So we fellowship and we share. And I'm committed to the group because in 1987, straight after the coup in Fiji, a group flew over just to find out what the situation was and how the Indians in Fiji at the time would fare. And I told them, look, I'll look after them. And friendship has grown over the years. And so I go to those meetings whenever I can. And then it coincided, 1 week later, the Island Night was going to be on. So I thought I'd put the two together. I should have come earlier for another meeting, and I thought, why don't we all push everything in so that I'm there for all the meetings, meeting the retreat with the friends, lunch and dinner with the same friends group, and then the Island Night.
We're going to get to our political landscape in Fiji a little later, but in terms of the SODELPA party, Ratu Sitiveni, can you talk to us about some of the issues currently facing Fiji and how your party will, resolve those issues if successful at this year's Fijian election?
Thank you very much. We are looking forward to the elections because we feel that the people are dissatisfied with a lot of things that are going on. But we will be contesting and will be competing against the growing number of people who are so dependent on government handouts. We feel that we're losing the moral fiber, we're losing the character of the workers, the character of the Pacific Islander who will get up and go. After we have cyclones are not new; they have been there all the time. But we have our crops, the various crops that see us through the rehabilitation months after big cyclones. So people are getting to be a bit laid back, waiting too much for government to come in and help. And productivity, the national productivity reflects that attitude in the people. And I believe that we have a nation of great people. Now it's greater with the introduction and the influx of other races from outside the region. Not only Pacific Islanders, we have Asians, Europeans were there for a long time, have been there for a long time. So we can. And I was just telling my son that coming to New Zealand opens my eyes out. And I see the proximity. We're so close, yet so far. There's so much that is different about New Zealand. Yet it's only 3 hours flight or 2.5. And we come here and you see the people industrious in whatever they're doing, going about life and doing their own thing and succeeding, while at home we're still a bit slower, but we can do it. And I'd like to be part of that rejuvenation of our people and the nation.
Ratu Siriveni, you mentioned 1987 at the outset. How has the political landscape of Fiji changed, in your opinion, since that time?
It's been 31 years now, and we're still changing. We're going through political metamorphosis. We came from being a dominion into a republic, geographic representation in the House. Now we have a national system where we have the Dihon system of elections, and people are still trying to get to grips with the changes. We've had the 1990 Constitution, the 1997 Constitution, and now the 2013 Constitution, all different. So we're still trying to find the slot, the right slot, where we can fit in, be comfortable, and grow.
In terms of relations between Indo-Fijians and Itaukei, or the indigenous Fijians, how do you currently see that relationship?
That relationship was never threatened. We have a good relationship. However, there are elements in society that do things that are not race-based, but are seen to be racially motivated, which could easily damage the cordial relationships between the two races. No race is a threat to the other.
The Pacific Summit, Media Summit, is also taking place in Tonga at the moment, and some issues in regards to media freedom, sedition cases, etc. If we're looking at Fiji in particular, how do you see that in terms of playing out in regards to the upcoming elections?
Well, we have a very restricted media environment at the moment. There is no media freedom. We have one of our dailies in court at the Fiji Times. Sedition is still being pursued in Fiji. The people who are alleged to have committed seditious acts are brought to justice. Most of the countries around the world have repealed their sedition laws because it goes against the very grains of freedom of expression. People are free to criticize the government, whereas in Fiji there is a decree saying that you cannot criticize the government. So the government itself suffers because no one criticizes them. So they think everything's going well when things are not going well. So it is not a very good environment to be living in and under. So this election is all about making the people freer, giving the people compassionate leadership, doing what is right with malice towards none, and those sort of things that we want to bring back so that we inculcate into the people the spirit of free living.
Ratu Sitiveni, do you see the sort of media constraints, sort of an outworking of the four coups that have occurred over the last 31 years? And if Sodelpa Party is elected into office, relaxing those freedoms?
Oh yes, we would like to relax that and get it right back to where we were in the later part of my leadership with the SVT General Voters Coalition towards the end of the 90s. And it's a very healthy thing to have because we are daily and constantly reminded of what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Because people are free to tell us, look, boss, you're not doing that right. And they miss out on that now.
Ratu Sitiveni, in an interview with Vitia Lava last year, you stated that Fiji is at a crossroads and there are many wounds that need healing. What are some of those wounds you talked about?
Yes, the major wound would be the victims of the coups. The victims of '87 were, some of them still feel like victims. And a few years ago, I made up my mind to cross over. The word that inspired me was the word used, or the name used by two friends who were at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, and two prayer friends from Kosovo spoke. They fought against each other in the Civil War, and then stood against each other in the elections. And one is in opposition, one is in government, and they found themselves in the same boarding place, same boarding apartments when they come to Parliament. So they started talking, and eventually they became. One is a Christian, one is Muslim. So the only thing that brought them together was the name Jesus, and because he features in the Bible and also in the Quran. So they started talking, and Jesus of Nazareth was a very good topic for them. So they spoke about Jesus rather than religion, and eventually they became very close friends. And they came, and the way they pronounce the name of their country is Kosovo, and rather than Kosovo. I thought it was Kosovo. So when, as they were speaking, the speaker who should have taken the podium after them didn't turn up. So the organizers came around, "Where's Steve?" So they found me in the back, say, "Hey, you got to get up." "What for?" "You got to close this meeting." So I came up and I started with the name of Kosovo. And I said, in Fijian, Kosovo means crossover, Kosovo. So I made up my mind that when I came back, using these two friends as my example of reconciliation and coming together, I said, I'll go and do this. And Kosovo means crossover. Kosovan naudiwai. Kosovo na sala, crossing a river or crossing a road. So I'll cross over from being the aggressor in the coup to the aggrieved. Some see me as a victor of the coup, and I'll cross over to the victim. So I came back and did that. And that has been my sort of return journey to this. So I had never thought at the time that I'd be back in politics. I was out of prime ministership then. So those are the things that have inspired me to come back and put right what the damage is, heal the wounds, be reconciled with those that still see me with difficulty. They hold me at arm's length, and they feel that I'm intruding into their privacy, into their own domain by what I had done. Yesterday, I was at one of the radio stations. One called up and said, I was a victim of 1987, and I just want to know what you're going to do to appease those that are still uncomfortable with your presence. So that's why I'm back. I was asked to come back. I was quite happy looking after my grandchildren and great-granddaughters. But now duty calls, I believe, and I've come back. And some say, you're going to be 70. What do you have to do? You're too old to come back. And yesterday they announced that Dr. Mahathir in Malaysia has been sworn in at 92. So what's 70?
Very young indeed.
Very young. He'll say, "Oh, cheeky young puppy."
Now, Ratu, when you were sharing about the crossing over in the faith, because many people would still find it hard to reconcile the God-fearing man with the former hard man of the Pacific. Another interview with Radio New Zealand in May last year, you were quoted as saying that coups were not the way to resolve any type of national situation in a civilized society. In hindsight, what would you have done differently?
Well, I would have encouraged the political leaders at the time to continue to work together, because political losses in elections are healthy for national growth. Because if you look at all the democracies around the world, there's an arc of a pendulum swing that's always there. Even if they have not done badly, people say, okay, we have had them for 2 terms, which is 8 years in Fiji constitution. It was 10 years before. They've had 10 years. They've done well. The others are still on the other side. They're barking. They're saying, you have not done this, you have not done this. So why don't you give them a chance? So the population swings either right or left. And you have this healthy pendulum arc of political likes and dislikes, if you call it that. And that would have been good. Unfortunately, the political leaders at the time were not happy with the loss, and there was this agitation on the streets, and I felt that the preemptive move would prevent any further escalation and deterioration of worsening of the situation.
Ratu Sitiveni, one of the election promises for the SLR party is to restore the Great Council of Chiefs if elected. The importance of that move, for yourself and the SLR party?
Why have the King of Maori? Same sort of thing. You have the Maori King, you had the Maori Queen, and they symbolize the culture of the nation, the culture of the people, the indigenous people. And they play a role, the mana in the position and the mana in the chiefs in their own tribal areas. They carry a lot of weight. They may not have any executive authority. They are advisory to the government. They're advisory to the local political organizations. And they are very influential over their own people. They can calm them down. And whenever we've had problems in Fiji, the Great Council of Chiefs has been the calming influence. So that's why I want to bring them back.
And finally, for our listeners and our Facebook viewers, especially our Fijian community, some words in your mother tongue, finally, please, Ratu Sitiveni.
Vinawalevu. Vinawalevu kemenina borong mai, patake kemenina ngai sarabu na website go bo na whatever to na radio station go na to kerem mai wasani verto we kemuni talanga na rakit na song na bong ni Kurabui na kena sangai nga me kitu mai kambura to ka sona tuku we kemuni na daw ni we to koni kemuni talanga na sang tumbaga ni to kon kito balatin ni sang ni klei kito na sa dalpa mebiti au bo na wale we kemuni na sa wawarau tu mene nonga leani ke mene na senga ni nalagaani ni sana ronga de tuna kakamrango sa nuita kini na rauni bukai ke mene en no mene dingi baga yalmatua na bukni vending na general election lebu na baga nama tukina se senga matata na dawa ke mene na semberni bolaiada ke baga sarawa na registration me bolaina damni ke baga sa bolai tu ni sa ya dama na kena na ukrea mendale vending dingi sa tu elinganda na kena dingi taki na veli taki na ndo bonua ka sa nui taki au sa nui taka ni na raunyo ni bogador na nomoni tabi ke mami na bogador ne mami tabi menda bogador bata non de tabi mbale tan litaki na ndo bonua e non da todok and na krewa na kolombula ke me na token kenda ndo bobini bina vole na bonua lebungo o New Zealand na bevingo mi kemuni na bito ko ni somebody ngai ka ni waka nga ngona turanga Wakanda o so Winston Peters na bito ko ni lebu na daga Pacific and don kina weekend amenda na marro e bira na don do be kani ke ir na matentura to ko ni kenda tu mai na matani bo lebu koroni bo lebu na be tango ma kina be se burbura na buli mai viti na bito ko ni kina bo lebu na matentu lebu New Zealand na mbula na tambada daga ni mbula na vata ke na mate valu da nita kanina na bo na taki daksar no the viva kani ke New Zealand relationships with New Zealand is very important. This government has had pulled our relationship to a very very low level abina katimenda bo bina taka na vi maloya and kana vi sotaki mina Fiji first kina sodalpa bina walebu.
SLR Party leader and former Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rambuka Vinakavagalevu Ratu, and wishing you all the very best for the upcoming elections.
God bless you.
God bless you. It is 20 minutes to 9, Radio 531 PI, Pacific People, together.